Yo, 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 what's going on? It's your boy I-95B. The B is for Bully. And I'm sitting here, I'm chilling. You are listening to the inaugural episode of the Two-Way Podcast. You know the vibes. We're here to keep it real. This isn't going to be your typical Knicks show podcast, all of that, but I'm not alone. I am not riding dolo. I'm sitting here with my ace, my fellow two-way. I'll call him my small forward. What's going on, Mensa? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm happy to be here. Happy to really get started with this podcast. It's been a long time coming. It's been months in the making, and here we are. NBA opening night, ready to go live for the people and just share our thoughts and let everybody, see what we're coming with. Trying to bring a fresh and unique take on, this sports landscape where, in this time, I feel like we need voices that are not afraid to keep it real. So we're not here to do it my way. We're not here to do it, your way. We're here to do it the two-way. So I'm really excited that, we're here and, just ready to go, man, like completely ready to go. So everybody, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We know it's a little late, about 10:20 p.m. right now, October 21st. Knicks play in a little under 24 hours. And just to jump right into it, we got a bit of injury news a little earlier today with Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson being announced out for the game. Shout out to CP the franchise. He had a little bit of extra about it, saying that the Knicks are just being very cautious and that there may not be much to worry about. Ariel Hukporti is looking like he's going to get the start. But my raw thoughts on this is that the Knicks do not have any excuses from day one.
Yes, sir.
There are no excuses. The New York Knicks still have Jalen Brunson. We still have Karl Anthony Towns. We still got Mikal Bridges. We still got OG Anunoby. Deuce McBride is playing. Jordan Clarkson's playing. Gershon Yabusele is playing. Long story short, you still have enough to beat anybody on any night in the NBA. If the New York Knicks are going to be for real, especially against a Cleveland Cavaliers team that is going to be missing Darius Garland, Max Strus, and DeAndre Hunter, it shouldn't be a problem for us to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in our own building, So really looking forward to seeing what the Knicks come with. I would like to see the thing with Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson is they're two of the three non-shooters most likely to play for the Knicks this season. So with those guys on the bench, the Knicks have an opportunity to play as much five out as possible whenever Ariel Hukporti is not in the game. And I want to see what the Knicks do with that new fresh lineup with Gershon Yabusele. They can go big and play the five out lineup. They can go with Deuce and Brunson, play the five out lineup. They can go with Clarkson. There's so many different lineups that I'm interested in seeing, and none of them have to do with Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson. So, like I said, no excuses. Game one, check ball, let's go. Everybody's ready. The city of New York is ready, and the expectations are sky high. And I need the New York Knicks to meet the expectation. How about you, Bully?
Bro, like when I saw the news, man, I'm like, damn, like already with this shit, Mitch. Like the season hasn't even gotten started yet. And I remember like over the summer, everyone's like, extend Mitch. And I was talking with Jay in our chat, and I'm like, there's a reason why this guy isn't getting extended, and I don't think it's just like Giannis related. Like it seems like every year, like when we counting on this guy, it's always something. But I'm hoping that it's a bunch of nothing. Hope it is like low management. Maybe he tweaks something and they're just trying to take it easy on him. But it's like, damn, like I was looking at November 3rd as the first game that Mitch wasn't going to play because it's a back-to-back game. I think it's at Washington on that Monday. But it's interesting because I'm curious. It kind of leads into like the roles of the players. Like Huck Purdy looked good, or he looked, like very serviceable. I'm at the center position. I'm not sure that's something you want to go with like long term on a consistent basis, but I do like Huck Porty there. I'm at the five, but I'm curious because they announce that Huck was going to start?
It wasn't announced that Huck is going to start, but that is what CP is saying is most likely.
Yeah, so I think it's an interesting opportunity. If you're not going to have Mitch and Hart, you're playing a lot of five out basketball to start the season, and we all been wanting to see it. And you had a tweet earlier where you say, yo, I wanted Deuce to start, I wanted Deuce to get his minutes, but this isn't the way I wanted it to go. And like I agree with you, but to me, like this is an opportunity. All summer for the past year, so play the kids, Pacome Daddy, Diawara, all this stuff, but like nobody really mentions Huck that much. And like even myself, like I fell into it as well. I'm like, yo, you gotta play Pacome, this and that. Then here it is. It's actually Huck because Pacome Daddy, bro, he looked like I'll say like a bag of ass. Like yo, those first, especially that first preseason game, like I'm watching this guy get beat time and time again, like off of the first step. So for me, man, like the injury news, it's kind of disheartening. And like somebody had a comment somewhere like, "Oh, the Tibbs minutes are finally catching up with her," and I'm just like, "Yo, like get off of this guy. Like he's gone. Like let him be." But yo, let me ask you, man. How did you feel about the whole Tibbs and Celtic stuff, man? Like, did you see any of that stuff?
Yeah, I saw it. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not with us, you're against us. And Tom Thibodeau's doing what he always does after he loses a job. He's very comfortable, losing jobs. So after he gets fired, he goes, he does his tour around the NBA, and then in about 6 to 8 months, we're going to hear about Tom Thibodeau and how he's learned and all of these things. I mean, honestly, look, there's nothing that Tom Thibodeau can tell the Boston Celtics that's going to make them go back in time and win that series. We beat them. It is what it is. And now we have a new head coach. Look, Tom Thibodeau can do what he wants. He has a $30 million retirement package. He's living real cushy. He can travel first class and go visit the Boston Celtics. None of that stuff matters because at the end of the day, when Jaylen Brown is on the court against the Knicks this season and he's getting jumped by Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, there's nothing Tom Thibodeau could have done to help him out in that situation, right? So, look, it is what it is. Do I like to see it? No, of course not. I mean, I hate everything about Boston sports, but am I going to allow that to bother me? No. I mean, people are going to, here's what I'll say. People watch sports for different reasons, right? Like people watch sports for the narratives. People watch sports, because they like, sports betting. People watch sports because of like the drama. I personally watch basketball because I like basketball, right? And all of the non-basketball stuff that we're talking about right now is like, whatever, bro. Like, look, if somehow, some way Tom Thibodeau is the de facto associate head coach for the Boston Celtics and now we can't win games, yeah, I'm going to be pissed off about that. But there's nothing that Tom Thibodeau is going to do that's going to stop the inevitability that is Jalen Brunson getting buckets on your head all 4 quarters, right? So Jaylen Brown can do what he wants. Derek White and Anthony Simons, I hope they listen really well to what Tom Thibodeau says. At the end of the day, they still got to go out there and guard Jalen Brunson. And as we have seen, that's not possible. So it is what it is, man. Tom Thibodeau can do what he wants.
And that's the thing. Like whatever information he's given is likely obsolete at this point. Like it's a non-factor, whatever he's giving out right now. But one thing I want to do, man, because we didn't really tell the people about the two-way show and like what we're about and like things that we want to hit and some of the things that kind of separate us a little bit from the crowd. Because as we know, there's probably like 150 Knicks podcasts, Knicks shows, sports-related content. So I do want to let the people know kind of what we're about, how we're different. So I'm going to play this quick ad, and then we're going to get back into the conversation and talk more about, Project Arc, the two-way show, and then what we're about.
Tune in to the Two-Way Talk podcast with Mensa and Bully. Join the boys as they discuss all the tri-state sports. Knicks, Yankees, Mets, Jets, NBA, NCAA, and more. The boys will also dive into local news and everything that matters to you. The Two-Way podcast presented by Project Arc is your home for everything from sports, the culture, local news, and everything in between. Always be sure to follow Project Arc for more updates.
So talk to the people real quick, man. I'm going to hop right back in for 1 second.
Yeah, for sure. So Project Arc, right? Kanye West, back when he was a sane person, he wrote a record, and one of the lines was, people talk so much shit about me at barbershops, they forget to get their hair cut, right? So we are the barbershop, and we're going to be talking so much shit that you're going to forget to get your hair cut, right? And when you get into that barbershop, what do we talk about? We talk about sports, we talk about pretty much everything, everything and anything, right? So we want to talk about, we want to keep it New York Knicks focused. We want to keep it New York sports focused. But as far as like the tangents that come with talking about New York sports, we're going to get into those tangents and we're going to be comfortable in those tangents, right? Because just because we like how LeBron was told to shut up and dribble. Sometimes you get told to shut up and podcast. I'm not shutting up and podcasting at all. This is where I'm going to be, and me and Bully, we're going to be our most authentic selves, and we're going to keep things real. We're not going to go I'm not going to be clip farming. I'll say that, because sometimes people will go out and try, to be over the top with, being different. I have no desire to be different. I have every desire to be myself. So I'm going to be myself. Bully's going to be himself. And we're just going to continue to talk about things that are entertaining to all of us because they're on the forefronts of our minds. And in this time, in this atmosphere that we currently live in, we got to address multiple things because it's the only way for us to, to be sane. One of my favorite things that I was told by a pastor once was that you are special to God, but you're not so special to God that you're the only person experiencing what you're going through right now, right? So it's important for us to share our experiences and to talk about what we're going through so that we can have a little bit more peace of mind. We can have a bit, a little bit more community. So I guess that's what we want to do. We want to develop authentic community over here at Project Heart with the Two-Way podcast. And we call it the Two-Way because, we're not just one way. You're not just going to get the sports from us, or you're not just going to get the culture. We can go both, we can play both ends of the court, the way OG Anunoby or Mikal Bridges or Deuce McBride. That's the theme of the podcast, right? We want to be a two-way podcast. We want to be well-rounded here, and we want to make sure that you guys are covered on all your bases. So thank you again for sticking it out with us.
Yo, and that's the thing, man. You talk about like what we're going through, and since we are talking about Knicks, if we could pivot for a second, man. Like opening night is tomorrow, and dude, I got 3 kids and a wife. Everybody wants to go to opening night, and like if you look at those tickets for like a family of like 4 or family of 5, you're spending like well over $1,000, and that's not even including cotton candy, plushies. Like we went to the thing they had the last week in the season, like kickoff thing or whatever. And I'm like, no, I'll bring everybody out there. Tickets are like $5 a piece. But yo, cotton candy was like $30. They got the little Jalen Brunson plushies. That dude was like $30. My son wanted a hot dog, and I'm like, oh, kid, like now I understand why my mama always said, eat before we get inside. Or like, like my mother was the one where like she would pack sandwiches, like to go to the movies, and we're not buying anything out there. But and that's the thing, man. Like doing a show like this, man. I think it's necessary for people like us. Like you got kids, you got family. Like today was a basketball tip off. You know how many minutes I watched of the games today? Maybe 5.
Yep.
Dude, 'cause I get off work at 6, and like I work from home, so it's usually no big deal. But I was preparing for this. My kid had homework. Wife is cooking dinner. Tyler's wilding out. So I'm like, you know what? Like I'm off tomorrow. I just watched the games like later on tonight. But I did see my parlay. I needed Kevin Durant and Chet Holmgren to hit 2 threes. They didn't hit a 3 at all, man. But one thing I want to get into, man, because you see, especially the last 2 years, we've seen a lot of championship or bust talk. And I think like for this year, you can actually define like what a bust looks like. Pause. You had the Giannis news that came out this summer. And everyone's like, well, if we don't get a chip, we go out and get Giannis, and I think that's could be a real possibility, Like, what do you feel? Is it championship or bust, or is it finals or bust for you?
I think that if it's finals or bust, then you might as well be championship or bust, right?
Yeah.
This is the best chance the Knicks have had in decades, right? The Eastern Conference, two of the four best teams in the Eastern Conference last season, Boston and Indiana, they're both missing their best players. This is an NBA where we have now crowned, I believe, 7 different champions or 6 or 7 different champions in as many seasons. So there's parity, which gives every team's fan base a little more hope. So, we saw Toronto win it, then we saw the Lakers win it, then we saw Milwaukee. After Milwaukee was Denver, I believe. And then, no, I'm sorry, it was Golden State, then Denver, then Boston, and now Oklahoma City. So why not us, right?
Yeah.
We're at a place where, all of our star players, all of our best players, I should say, are right in their prime, right? Karl Anthony Towns being the oldest guy, he's turning 30 next month. Everybody else is 29, 28, 27. These guys are in their athletic prime. The New York Knicks are probably not going to have a better chance to win a title than they do this season. So I'm going with, it is championship or bust, but that's okay. These are the expectations.
These are the problems you want.
These are the problems I've been wanting my entire life.
Yeah.
I've been watching the Knicks. Like, I've been a diehard Knicks fan since I was 13 years old, 2007. So for the last 18, 19 years, it's been nothing but struggle, right? And then Jalen Brunson comes into our lives and changes everything. So we are now in year 4 of the Jalen Brunson experience. We have a head coach who's going to amplify the best of our star players. Karl Anthony Towns is a really good fit with Jalen Brunson. You can say what you want about the defense, but offensively, those guys, if we can really get them to work together, they can be unstoppable on the offensive end. So I'm really happy to see what the Knicks have built. And where we're at right now, it's definitely championship or bust. And these are the expectations that you want as an athlete. These are the expectations that we want as a fan base, and especially as Knicks fans, because I'm sorry to break it to the rest of the league, but we are the main character. If you don't think we're the main character, look at Mark Cuban, who has not shut up about Jalen Brunson, even though after he's trying
to get us jammed up, man.
Bro, after he loses Jalen Brunson, his team gets to an NBA Finals. They get gifted Kyrie Irving from the Brooklyn Nets. So you've done well without Jalen Brunson. You don't have to apologize, but you continue talking about it. Why? Because he's a New York Knick, and the New York Knicks are the main character. So we already been the main character. Let's go win a championship, and let's go piss everybody else off in the league.
And that kind of leads into some of the culture side of the Knicks. Like, for me, last time the Knicks were in the finals, I remember Sean Elliott killing us. Like, I remember staying up late to watch those games, watching Sean Elliott, watching Marcus Camby not have a chance against that front line, watching Sprewell and Houston do work. But for me, man, it's so funny. Like, people love to hate the Knicks, and it's like why? Like, you guys haven't won it in 50 years. You guys haven't won it in 60 years. It's okay. Let us be. But I agree with you. It is championship or bust. But me taking the other side of the argument, there's a reason the Knicks aren't favored to win. I think they have the third best odds behind Oklahoma, Cleveland, and then us. And it's like I do take that into account because I do have questions like, what is it really going to look like with Brunson and Cat on the floor at the same time? Like, even though Mitch is going to be out there, hopefully Mitch is going to be out there, I still wonder about them having those 2 weak spots. And as a fan, I view the team differently as someone that also can be critical or analyze the team. Like, I look at Cat, you have a contract coming up. I look at Brunson, you have a contract coming up. There's the guy over there in Milwaukee. He has a contract coming up. So it's like the power of friendship, or whatever you want to call the vibes. Like, if you guys really rock with each other, you got to get it done this year. Because if they don't, changes have to be made. Like, there's no way around it. And even if the East wasn't weak this year, let's say Boston's at 100%. Let's say Indiana's at 100%. I think Indiana would probably be the favorites to come out if they were healthy, going into this season. But even so, I still like our chances against them. But what were your thoughts on, because you kind of skipped over a little bit of the offseason. Do you have any thoughts on like Jordan Clarkson, Yabusele, if I'm pronouncing it right? like for me, I'm so interested to see what Clarkson is going to be this year, because he was on a terrible team past couple years. Now you're coming somewhere with like real expectations. Like, are you going to be able to deliver? And a lot of people, a lot of Knicks fans, 6 men of the year, 6 men of the year. Me personally, I'm going with Josh Hart as my 6 men of the year. Like, you tell me this guy comes and gives you 12, 5, and 5, or 13, 6, and 7 off the bench. And like to me, like he gets looked over so much because of the things that he can't do. But no one ever really talks about the things that he does well. Like you need that physicality. And I know it's your boy RJ. Like I remember watching the playoffs sometime like last year against the Pistons, and I'm like, man, I kind of wish we had someone to just be physical and like just when a team's going on a 15-2 run and you got to stop the bleeding, easiest way, get to the free throw line, slow it down, slow the pace down, and like I kind of miss them having someone that was just straight up physical. I wish Hart had more like on ball skills. Okay, he can't shoot. Like I can live with the shooting, but I kind of wish he did have more on ball skills where he could be someone that could just drive and just punish a defense. And you mentioned Jalen Brunson. To me, it was so fun. I think ESPN, they had a report or they put something out with the list where it was the top 10 players and they had LeBron above him. And I'm like, what does this guy have to do to get his respect? And it's like, he's got to win a chip. Unless he gets a chip, he's never going to get that respect. Even last year, when you go back like the first few months of the season, you look at all the MVP ladders on NBA.com, they all had Karl Anthony Towns inside the top 10 and Brunson outside the top 10. But it's like we knew like who the more important player was, who's the more valuable player. But for me, like to get to the finals this year, if you get there, close the fucking deal. Like I understand, like Oklahoma they're tough. Like they are a tough team. I'm not one of the fans where, I'm just gonna say, oh yeah, we're gonna beat anybody. Oklahoma City is tough. Like that's gonna be a tough team to beat. But one thing that stuck out to me that didn't get a lot of credit, and I go back and forth in my own head sometimes. This guy Brunson played defense against Boston. If you go back to games 1 and 2,
Yeah.
if you see, you know exactly where. If you go back to games 1 and 2, where he got matched up in ISO with Tatum and Jaylen Brown, like he held his own. And I'm looking at Cat, and I'm like, okay, I get it. But the difference with like Brunson's bad defense and Cat's bad defense is more, I'm in the wrong spot or I made the wrong read. And that shit is so frustrating. But if you look at someone like Brunson, it's like, hey, I'm gonna try. I'm just small. But I think like in certain situations, like I promise you guys, go back, watch game 1 and game 2 against Boston. Just watch the last 3 minutes, and you can see some of the defense that Brunson was able to play. But I think who do you think on the Knicks has the most intriguing role this year? Not the best, not 6 man or defensive player of the year, but who do you think, in your opinion, has the most intriguing role among the team?
So you said a lot there. I want to answer the most recent question, which who is the most intriguing role, and I think the Kingslayer himself, Mikal Bridges, has the most intriguing role. Why do I say that? When we lost RJ Barrett, nobody
Would you categorize it as a loss?
Let me cook. When RJ Barrett was traded, so let's get away from loss or gain. When RJ Barrett was traded, he vacated a pretty large usage role. I think he was at around like 26.8% usage in this Knicks offense, right? And Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson had usages around, I think, 29 to 32. I don't have
there were 30 usage guys. Yep.
Yeah. So when RJ left, nobody stepped up into that third option role, right? And I thought that the shots that RJ Barrett got in the offense next to a Jalen Brunson and a Julius Randle, a guy like Mikal Bridges fit that shot profile perfectly. But for whatever reason, we did not get the aggression that I was expecting. I was expecting to get a little bit of the Phoenix Mikal Bridges with the defensive role and a little bit of the Brooklyn. I was expecting a bit of the best of both worlds, and we kind of got the worst of both last season from Mikal Bridges. If we're being honest, he was probably the most disappointing. So I'm expecting him in this new role. The jump shot looks clean. He seems more excited to play on both ends of the court, and no, like those shots are still there. The RJ Barrett role is still there in this offense. It's a different head coach now, but there are going to be opportunities to attack weak side that RJ Barrett vacated, and he's going to be able to get to the basket. Mikal Bridges, he's a better shooter, he's a better finisher, better player than RJ Barrett, right? So you're taking a better player who was in a role in Brooklyn where he had the ball in his hand, so he's not uncomfortable creating his own look, right? And that is what I like to call the 2021 Chris Middleton role, right? Ooh. Giannis needed Chris Middleton to get him over the hump there, right? And I'm not saying that Mikal Bridges has to be Chris Middleton, ball for ball, letter for letter, but if you can get a bit of that, ability to create for yourself, create for your teammates, as a supplementary role, right? Because he's going to be third in the totem pole to Jalen Brunson, obviously, and Karl-Anthony Towns. So if you can get that wing scorer who can create his own look off the dribble, off the bounce, then I think that right there will elevate the Knicks offense, especially in the playoffs when you have a guy like Mikal Bridges who's a monster in the mid-range. And that is the shot that is most available to you in the playoffs. They want to take away threes. They want to take away the rim. So if you can score from the mid-range, that's what makes a guy like Kevin Durant so deadly, because you can try to take something away, and he's comfortable doing exactly what you don't want him to do. I need Mikal Bridges to be comfortable in that uncomfortable role. And I think his career so far to date, working as a role player next to Devin Booker and Devin Booker and Chris Paul to start in Phoenix, and then getting into Brooklyn and having the ball in his hands, I really expect that his mindset is going to be right for the job this year, and he should be the most intriguing basketball player for the New York Knicks, as far as can he really take that step that will make him worth the 5 first-round picks that everybody loves to talk about. And I'll give you a wild card here, with Josh Hart not being in the game, or Josh Hart being sidelined, and with Mitchell Robinson being sidelined, my guy, the one and only Deuce McBride. Can Deuce McBride be the basketball player who unlocks the New York Knicks? And why do I say unlocks the New York Knicks? When we think about the Knicks, we have Jalen Brunson and we have Karl-Anthony Towns, right? Those are the two. Those are the 1 and 2. Whether you like it or not, those are your 1 and your 2. So on offense, in order to unlock Karl-Anthony Towns, he needs to be playing center, right? So when you play him at center, we did that last year, but Josh Hart his unwillingness to shoot allowed teams to shut the pick and roll down by putting a wing on Cat, and that kind of slowed us down from January 1st down. If you have a guy like Deuce McBride out there who's willing to shoot, you can no longer just stick a wing on Cat, because that center who's going to be guarding Deuce is going to be fried rice, right? So that unlocks the offense. And then on top of that, you're giving Jalen Brunson more space to operate in a true 5-out look. So I believe that Deuce McBride offensively would unlock those two basketball plays by giving them the space. And now defensively, and I know I'm going to get pushback on this, but I do believe that defensively, Deuce McBride unlocks Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. What do I mean by that? In this era of basketball, we believe in, and we went to church at the Church of Rim Protection, right? That's what we believe in as basketball fans. We never with Isaiah Hartenstein, Mitchell Robinson, Tyson Chandler, Patrick Ewing, you name it. We as Knicks fans believe in protecting the rim. In this NBA, especially last season, against the Indiana Pacers, I watched them put us in the blender and get open 3 after open 3 after open 3. So for me, what's important is you want to be able to protect the perimeter. You want to be able to stop teams from shooting threes ad nauseum against you, and having the point of attack defender that is Deuce McBride takes Mikal Bridges, who's in a later stage in his career, who's at 28, 29 years old. You take him and you put him on the wing as a second line of defense, as opposed to the front line of defense. And now you're unlocking your best defenders, because OG Anunoby can be, instead of that second line of defense, he could be that roamer. He can be the roamer that he's meant to be, and just an agent of chaos when he's at his best. And then you have Mikal Bridges. He can now use that long wingspan, that 7-foot wingspan, to muck up the passing lanes, right? So not only would Deuce McBride make Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns better on offense, he would also make, in my opinion, he would make Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby better on defense. Yes, you're not going to have that extra line of defense, right? You're not going to have that there because Karl Anthony Towns is not a great rim protector. But what I would tell you is that the advanced metrics will say that Karl Anthony Towns was not that bad on defense. And that's specifically because how do you end a defensive possession? You rebound, right? Karl Anthony Towns is a top 3 defensive rebounder in basketball, right? So you need so what you want to do, especially in playoff basketball, is you want to limit teams to one possession. And how do you limit teams to one possession? You rebound that basketball. Karl Anthony Towns is one of the elite defensive rebounders in this game. So you still have enough. And if you think I'm crazy, and everybody loves to say, oh, but Jokic is different on offense. Jokic is not a rim protector. And the Denver Nuggets, they get by on defense. I'm not even talking about the offense here, right? And even if Karl Anthony Towns is not Jokic, if
they have those huge wings next to him,
right? But what I'm trying to say is that if you can unlock the offense and see it at its fullest potential, you might be able to get away with Karl Anthony Towns as your rim protector because he's an elite defensive rebounder. And most importantly, I just need to see it. We need to know if that is a look that we can go to, and if Deuce McBride can be that basketball player for us, if Deuce McBride can be the guy who helps us unlock and have that 5-out offense, that a look that we can go to for stretches during the game, then he would also be I believe, in the second most intriguing role for the New York Knicks this season.
You pretty much stole all my thunder on what I was going to say. I had similar points, but with me, with Cat, like, I think it could work if you're putting him next to 4 solid defenders. So maybe when like Brunson's out the game, you could put him next to some defenders. But bro, like that defense, man, like in the playoffs, like he started great. He started awesome on defense. And as that Piston series went on, I'm like, holy shit, like I don't think this is gonna work. But then it's like with Cat, you see these circus shots. So it's like you almost have to take like the good like with the bad. Like remember that step back 3?
How could I forget it?
The turnaround fadeaway, like dude, like there's not too many players that can make a shot like that. And then with Deuce, like he was my most intriguing player / role. Like I think with Deuce, like honestly, I was disappointed in Deuce last year. Like I know like what the metrics say, like on off, the lineups, all that stuff. But as far as like a production point of view, I was so disappointed. I felt like he had like an up and down year on both sides of the ball. And I think like him coming off of the year from 2 years ago where it was like, hey kid, like here's 25 minutes a game, go out and do what you gotta do. We don't have anybody else. And then going into last year, I was so like let down. I thought he had so much more to give. And like you had a tweet today where it was something in regards to Tari Eason, and you said it's the most obvious trade. And I'm like, it is, but like thinking about this whole point guard stuff, like I'm not sure how much they value having a real backup point guard. But with this system, with the way Mike Brown plays, I'm not sure it's important to have your traditional backup point guard. Like I don't see, maybe Clarkson can do it, but I think like with the Deuce contract stuff, them if they do value having a backup point guard, and I think either way, like you have to have another point guard here. Like if Brunson goes down, and it happens. Like he doesn't play 82 games. Last year he was at what 65. Year before that he missed like a couple weeks. So like Brunson is known like he's gonna miss some time, and it's like what happens to the offense when he misses some time? Like I don't want to rely on like another OG Anunoby freak run, against bad competition. Like like he got his freak off last year during that time when Brunson went out. Man, he got his freak off.
Mickey Mouse March.
Yeah, so I'm just like, okay, like what's gonna happen? Because he's gonna have to sit. And then Cat's going to miss some time. Cat also has a history. Even though last year, for the most part, he was, good to go for most of the year, he's known to miss some games. Mitch is known to miss some games. So to me, it's Deuce. But why do you think the Tari Eason trade is something that's obvious? Or why would you make the Tari Eason trade?
So it's one of those trades that makes sense, but will never happen because the teams are in different places.
Yeah.
Reason why I think it makes a ton of sense for a team like Houston is because they don't have Fred VanVleet this season, right?
Yeah.
And even when you get Fred VanVleet back, Deuce McBride is on such a valuable contract. You can roster the two, no problem, right? And Tari Eason did not sign an extension with the Houston Rockets this year. And I just think that when you look at the Knicks' depth at guard with Tyler Kolek, who you spent a second-round pick on and is I believe, the biggest contract ever given to a second-round pick. So, you're expecting him to eventually play basketball for you at some point. You have depth with him. You have Jordan Clarkson there and Jalen Brunson, obviously. So you have you're three deep at the one if you really consider it. But the weakness of this roster and this, when I say weakness, I don't necessarily mean like it's weak, but the Knicks outside of Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, and OG Anunoby don't really have a playable wing, right?
Wing
as far
size.
as like NBA, wing player. So
Yeah.
Gershon Yabusele is a little too big to be a wing. He's really a front court player. Paco Mdadier is not quite ready. Neither is Kevin McCullough. So you kind of just shift the you rebalance the roster a bit, and then you have a player in Tari Eason who has a very high ceiling, who can cover who can reasonably play the 4 with Cat at the 5 because he's such an impact defender, right? He gets a lot of steals and blocks. I think he's averaging like 2.6 steals and blocks together per game. So you're getting the impact. He's going to be able to be a solid defender that you can play next to Cat at the 5, which is something that I still believe in. And it gives you size next to Jalen Brunson.
You
right?
like Yabusele and Cat together?
I need to see it enough. I haven't seen enough of it for me to have an opinion one way or the other. I will say I like the potential of Karl Anthony Towns and Gershon Yabusele, specifically on offense. But yeah, we just got to see it. So I don't have much of an opinion there, but I am hopeful that will work out. So when I say that it's the obvious trade, it's because both teams kind of need what the other team has. Houston needs another two-way guard, and the Knicks need another wing, right? So it would be – I don't think it's going to happen. I want to be very clear. I don't expect it to happen. But when you look at it, it's like, why don't these teams make a trade? They both have what each other needs. But, the NBA has many different, loopholes and whatever that keeps teams from doing, to me, what is obvious. So, yeah, I would like to see it, especially if the Knicks are not going to start Deuce McBride. My big worry for Deuce is that he becomes the 8th man behind a starting 5 that has Mitchell Robinson, and then you're putting Josh Hart and Jordan Clarkson ahead of him. And I think Deuce McBride at this point of his career has shown more than he's just being an 8th man. So I would rather trade him to a team that's going to utilize him that would also benefit the New York Knicks. So I love Deuce McBride. I want him to be the starter, but I'm worried that he will be the forgotten man in this big shuffle of the roster.
Yeah, I think, man, like this is a big year for him. Like as far as like his career, like what he's going to be going forward. He had the jump 2 years ago, and then he came back down a little bit last year. So I think this year, I could be wrong. I think you get a good barometer of what he's going to be going forward. And man, as far as that cap stuff, man, like I know just enough to know what's good and what's bad. Like I don't get into the deep minutia of it, but I hope Deuce is here, man. Like I would love for Deuce to be here, especially with that contract. But like who knows? Like Deuce could walk into the office and say, "Hey, I need 15, I need 17." He's making 4 right now, so I think like this year, like the team is in like you had a fork in the road. Like I don't. People say, they're going to be together for 3 years, 4 years. Like get the chip, and then we can talk about that. But if not, then I think it's going to look a little bit different. But one thing I think we could pivot to, man, I want to get into that Kings conversation that we had last night about Kings of New York. We're not talking about the No Kings thing that happened this week, and we're talking about Kings of New York, which is legal. But what I want to do, man, we're going to hit a quick break, and then we'll get right back into it.
Tune in to the Two-Way Talk podcast with Mensa and Bully. Join the boys as they discuss all the tri-state sports. Knicks, Yankees, Mets, Jets, NBA, NCAA, and more. The boys will also dive into local news and everything that matters to you. The Two-Way Podcast presented by Project Arc is your home for everything from sports, the culture, local news, and everything in between. Always be sure to follow Project Arc for more updates.
Gotta wake him up, man. Gotta wake him up a little bit, bro. It's 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You are rocking with the Two-Way Podcast brought by Project Arc Sports, where we talk Knicks, Yankees, Mets, Jets, culture, local news. There's nothing off the table. There's nothing off the table that we can and cannot talk about. But that's what's going to set us apart. Help us be a little bit different, a little less stale. One thing I do want to get into, I always see these posts around this time of year about who's the king of New York or who's the queen of New York, in regards to athletes or who's the top athletes in New York. Bro, for me, man, I said it to you yesterday. In order to be one of the kings of New York, you have to get more than one chip. In my opinion, like my very first baseball game was July 25th, 1998, Old Timers Day at Yankee Stadium. And if you know baseball, that 98 Yankees team, arguably one of the greatest teams in all of sports to ever exist. I know you're a Mets fan, so sorry about that.
It's the truth, man. What I'm not gonna look. I root for who I root for. It doesn't change the facts.
Yeah, and it's like, look at everyone that's ever been held in esteem in New York sports. It's more than one chip. Like, in recent history, you go Eli, you go Jeter, you go back to Clyde, all those guys, Lawrence Taylor. I think like you have to get two chips in order to be a king of New York. 'Cause I hear, oh, he's the best. If he gets the Knicks a chip, he's the greatest ever. And I'm like, I'm not so sure. Like, I need two. Like, do you think like that's off base? Like, what does it take to be a king of New York? In terms of sports, like, what does it take?
You need at least two in this town, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eli Manning got you two. Jeter got you what, five? You gotta get at least two, right? And what I will say though, because in this era, there's a guy in San Antonio who is about to shut the door. It's about to get bad. I don't know if that's this year, if it's next year, if it's in 2-3 years, doesn't matter. Either way. But as far as like New York sports goes, yeah, you do need multiple titles because that's just been the standard before, since 2012 and back, I will say it's been the standard. It's been a drought. Shout out to the New York Liberty for breaking that drought. But yeah,
They don't get enough respect for doing that.
I mean, the truth is the WNBA is not one of the four major sports, leagues in this town. You got NBA, NFL, MLB, and NHL. And WNBA, while I love the sport, I love watching those girls play, and pay those girls, pay those women, give them their money. Like let's see it. They deserve it.
Did you hear what Adam Silver said today?
What did he say?
There was a clip floating around, and it was someone on Sports Center, and they asked him, like, hey, should the women get a fair share? They want their share. And Adam goes, well, let's not use the word share. Let's actually look at the dollar amount. And it's like, dude, like we know what you're trying to do, man. You're trying to play the percentages game. Like,
I mean, who he's representing. He's representing the ownership. So
yeah,
his hands are tied.
Yeah, because I think like they're trying to like move the max to like 850K or something like that. But it's like, what percentage of like leave revenue? Like, you're not slick, man. You're not slick.
Yeah, don't they get like 9% or something like insanely low? And I think that's what people don't realize is that the women don't want the same money that the men want. They want the same split. And I believe the NBA right now is like a 53-47 or 51-49 in terms of basketball related income. Like the league shouldn't be making 91% of the BRI. That's ridiculous. You got to split that, make it a little more fair. But to get back,
you got to break it down, man. It's
go ahead.
It's basketball related income for the folks that don't know what the BRI is.
Yeah, BRI. So like ticket sales, jersey sales, all that sort of stuff that's related to the basketball. Like the jersey sales, like if let's say we buy a Sabrina Ionescu jersey for $120. According to the WNBA, the WNBA is going to get what's 9 out of 10 of that $108, and she's going to get 12 of
Yeah.
that 120. Like that's crazy, and so they gotta get that split right, make sure that it's a little more fair to the talent on the court, especially with the acts that are coming into the league. I'm very sorry to see my girl Juju Watkins got hurt, but you got Juju Watkins on the come up, what Angel Reese and what Caitlin Clark are doing for the league. What's the new one in Dallas, the one who dresses like Joe Burrow? What's her name? I forget.
I couldn't tell you.
Paige. There we go. Paige Buchers.
Yeah.
Paige Buchers. Like they got a lot of talent, man, and the game is in the best place it's ever been. So I'm hoping Aja Wilson. Hello, the GOAT. Well, not Maya Moore's the GOAT.
I'm a CT Sun guy, man. I'm out here in Connecticut, bro. I'm a CT Sun guy.
But like there's a lot of talent out there. But just to get back on topic about the Kings of New York thing, what I will say is, because I don't know how likely it is that Jalen Brunson wins multiple titles, I'll talk about the weight of what a Knicks championship will do. This is a basketball town. Basketball unites Yankees and Mets fans. It unites Mets and Giants fans. It unites the Islanders and the Rangers fans. We all love the Knicks. The Nets, whatever, but they're
about to get relocated somewhere, man.
They might be the Seattle Nets, who knows? But what that title would mean, and what Jalen Brunson will have a bronze statue outside of every bar in New York if he delivers a championship. Does that make him the king of New York? I don't know. Because you got Yankees fans who are going to swear by DiMaggio and Jeter and all the names that come with, Yankees lore. You got the Giants fans, LT, Parcells, Manning, like
Strahan,
Human. Like there's so many greats that have come through New York sports that we've been blessed to root for throughout our lives. Well, you've been blessed to root for. I'm a Jets Mets guy.
Yeah, you got the worst, man. You got the worst, bro.
It's been the projects. But to say the least, I think Jalen Brunson may not make it onto the New York Mount Rushmore with one title, but he will absolutely be a gigantic part of the discussion when it comes to New York basketball if he is the guy who delivers us the first title since 1973. And I think that's gigantic on its own.
Yeah, man. And I'll add my 2 cents, and then you can steer the conversation whichever way you want to go. Like Jalen Brunson saved my basketball rooting family. Like I remember my firstborn was born in 2009, and like his first guy was Porzingis, and then like my son used to call him like the GOAT. Dad, he's the GOAT. And then to see Porzingis get traded, and then like I'm trying to like sell my son on Zion. That didn't work. Then I'm trying to sell my son on Kyrie and Durant. That didn't work. And at the time, we were living in Florida. So like my son, like he's a military brat. So he didn't have any like ties to New York, like outside of me. So for him, like all his friends are Magic fans or Heat fans. Like we were in Florida during the Heatles, during Tampa. So like imagine me like trying to raise my son to be a Knicks fan. And he's like, yo, they over there doing 360 windmills, Dad. Like we gotta watch that game. So like he did that, and then like I'll never forget when Randall got here. Not this first season, but the second season where Tibbs and Leon, all these guys came, and like my wife never really watched basketball; it just wasn't her thing. And I had the game on during the COVID season, and she goes, "Oh, that guy Randall, he's like doing everything." And I'm like, yeah. And then Brunson comes in that next year. Like my kids do this. They got Jalen Brunson. I'm like, holy, like my kids actually have a guy. And like to me, I guess that's the coolest thing where like, oh, we're watching the Knicks and like we're good versus like as a kid, like I'm watching, who all the guys from the 2000s during those. I'm rooting like Antonio McDyess. Like the day that my Knicks fandom like took a little crack was I remember we signed Antonio McDyess, and my dad says, well, "This guy's always hurt. He's hurt." Antonio McDyess gets hurt in the preseason, hurts his knee, and it's just like, all right, man, like this is my life. Like this is my life. But what's on your mind? Which way did you want to go?
I just want to say that I'm so grateful for Jalen Brunson because my son he's coming up on his second birthday in about a month's time,
Oof.
and being able to with this toddler watch
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson instead of the trenches, because look, I'm also watching the Jets with my son, and I'm like,
Yeah.
thank God you're not old enough to really
Yeah.
know what's going on, because this is pitch black and dark outside. There are no street lights. But
Should have kept Rodgers.
but I think listen, I don't want to talk about Aaron Rodgers. But I think that we often forget the the fandom part of being a fan. Like it brings families together when you have a good sports team in your town, right? If you're like you growing up, well, we're raising your family in Florida, but you're a New Yorker. You want to give your kids a bit of that culture, but it's hard to when the team stinks, right?
Yep.
So to have, we just forget that there are real people who really root for these teams and want teams to be successful, which is why, like, when it comes to the Jets, look, go get the first pick, but to actually experience that, like, bro, there's probably a Jets fan somewhere right now who has stage 4 cancer.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Like, I'm not even like, I want to, like, I don't mean to make it, like, dark, but I'm saying, like, real people are going through real things, and we turn to sports to direct us away from, some of the darker parts of our reality, right? So to have a guy like Jalen Brunson, especially after everything I've been through as a Knicks fan, I don't take that for granted. And I think that while it's, like I was saying earlier, it is championship or bust, you can't take out of context the fact that you have a good product to root for, because you got people in Sacramento who just got to cling to Russell Westbrook and Zach LaVine. Like, that would have been the Knicks a decade ago, right? Like, we have a good basketball team, and that's important. But, just to talk about, some of the realities that we're dealing with, right? And especially in this day and age, where media has now shifted away from like cable. Most people get their media from like YouTube or
clips
Spotify,
on Twitter.
Clips on Twitter. It's like our voices as podcasters have become more important now than they ever have been, right? And I'm not saying that me, I'm this almighty podcaster with, a billion screens. I know I'm not Kai Cenat, right? I know I'm not Joe Budden. I know I'm not, like Charlemagne and all those
guys.
I know I'm not those guys, right? But people are listening, people are watching, and I'm grateful for that. And because of that, I think that it's important for us to, to stand on our beliefs and to fight, to resist in areas that we believe in fighting and resisting in, right? Because I personally believe that silence is compliance. And if we're silent about some of the things that we're seeing in the world, then we are compliant about it, right? And look, you could think I'm talking about whatever you want to talk about. Let's say I was really passionate about plastic waste, right? And I got on podcasts, and I know that the planet is dying, and I people are drinking with straws. If that's something that I'm passionate about, and I do believe that we need, like a sustainable planet, but if that's something that I'm not talking about and I'm watching people do it, then I'm complying in the destruction of this planet, right? So I think that when it comes to mixing sports and politics, especially when we're talking about a basketball league where they shut down on election day so they can use arenas for people in urban areas to vote, who do you think that benefits people in urban areas voting? And I think that the most important thing to never forget is that while people are comfortable, wanting the perfect politics and wanting this politician to be this and to be that, when it comes to something that's important to me is like harm reduction, right? So it's not just about, oh, well, this person on this one issue didn't vote, didn't say the things that I wanted them to say, so now I'm not going to vote at all. Like, that is crazy to me. And I don't want to get too deep into the politics of it all, but like, when I see things from, sports players, like a guy like Sauce Gardner on the New York Jets can be very dense when it comes to like what people are actually going through. If your favorite basketball player or your favorite football player or your favorite baseball player aligns with you politically, that is a blessing, because a lot of the time what we don't realize is that these guys are making so much money that they're not always going to align with us issue by issue. But when they do speak up on it and you sound like a clown, I'm going to come on here and call you a clown. It just is what it is, right? And I know that people aren't going to come to Project Art. They're not going to come to the two-way, for us to turn this into MSNBC or CNN. But sometimes I'm gonna be upset about the president deciding to sue the DOJ for $230 million. And like, that's not normal, and stuff like that is going to spill over into the conversation. And if that is not something that you are comfortable with, then maybe this is the podcast for you, because we are going to be, and it's not something that I plan on doing often, but it is something that is important to me, especially when you have a guy like Curtis Sliwa, who is, who got stabbed last night and survived and met, and met Master Splinter in 1989. Like, when stuff like that is happening, we're probably going to talk about it, because again, we're real people going through real things every day, and we want to build a community here over at the Two-Way Podcast. And some of that is going to be, hey, people are idiots, and we're going to call them idiots.
But the thing is, man, I think it gets misconstrued. Like, politics and sports have always gone hand in hand. Like, that has always, it's not anything new. Excuse me, but I think just my personal experience the past year, like I try to go to as many Knicks games as I can a year. What happened at the Garden last year? They had a certain rally there before the season started, and I'm a Yankees fan. They had Charlie Kirk's thing up on the screen there, and then the Giants are just the Giants. They're known for all that stuff. So it's like you can't avoid, especially in today's world where you have athletes being open about it, athletes talking about it. It seems like the only people that do not want to talk about it are the actual fans. And it goes back to Colin Kaepernick. Like, once that started, that's when the temperature between the relationship of sports and politics really got hot. It really got hot. So a lot of people say, "Oh, I come here for sports. I don't want to talk about that, or I want to hear about that." And like you said, this may not be the place for you. And we're always going to talk about it, and we're always going to try to provide it within the context of sports as well. And some people, they're not comfortable with it. They don't want to hear it. They don't like it. And you know what? Like, I fully understand that. But even for me, like, I want to go to a Knicks game. For those that don't know, like, my wife, she's Puerto Rican. You don't think I'm worried about walking through NYC and then you have ICE walking around? Like, that impacts like my sports experience, like the process of
they were
going
just
to
in Chinatown today.
Yeah. So it's like, how can you avoid it? Like me personally, it's something that I do have to think about. Where I have my kids and my wife, and we want to go to a game, and it's like, well, ICE is over there. Like, do I really want to be bothered with all of that and putting my family potentially in harm's way? So like it goes hand in hand, and it doesn't have to go hand in hand in a way where it's like disrespectful to people or like putting people down. But at the end of the day, let's call it what it is. We're two brothers living in America. Like, we're going to talk about, our experiences and through what we see in the world and through our lens and through our reality. But I think it is important to have that conversation with responsible people, with mature people, because not everyone is able to have that conversation. Like, you had Yabusele. I'm not sure if he still has it on his account, but go look at what his pinned tweet is, and go look at that tweet. Go look at some of the things that Mitchell Robinson says, and some people say, "Well, I block it out or I don't tune into it." For me, it's a little bit harder. Being honest with you, like, emotionally, it's a little bit challenging. Where, hey, like, I love this team, I love that athlete, but I know what you're about. And what you're about is harmful to me and my family, or to me and my people. So, yeah, man, I think, like, going forward, for those that are here, surprisingly, 220 people on our first, pop-up show Thank you guys for coming out. And guys, please follow myself at I95Bully. Follow at More Like Mensa, aka the God, aka the GOAT, BKA the Chosen One. Follow at Project Arc Sports New York on Twitter. On Instagram. Blue Sky is coming. And then also subscribe on YouTube. This show is coming at you live on YouTube. The next show will be live everywhere. So it'll be live Twitter, Instagram, wherever there's a live at, this show will be there. Then after this show concludes, we're going to upload this show in podcast format at Project Arc, Spotify, Apple, all the places you get your podcast at, will be there. But anything else on your mind? Anywhere you want to go?
Yeah, I guess I'll land the plane the way I always land the plane, and we're on the eve of the New York Knicks season starting tomorrow, October 22nd. Look, man, sports are meant to be a distraction. Sports are meant to be something that we do, that brings us joy outside of our, everyday lives. So, I like to talk about sports from the lens of, being a father, being a husband, being a fan. And I want to just remind people that the most important thing to do is enjoy yourself, right? Enjoy yourself, enjoy your experience. If you enjoy watching sports by being a complete maniac and being angry for 48 minutes because Mikal Bridges doesn't want to make a layup, if that is I'm being serious here. If that is your lived experience, and if that's what brings you joy, please don't allow anybody to tell you how to fan, right? Don't shut up and fan. Do what you want to do. But enjoy yourself, enjoy the journey, right? That's one thing that we were supposed to talk about is whether the journey still matters or not. I personally believe that, look, the outcome now matters more than it ever has, but the journey still needs to feel good. It still needs to be something that we're excited about, right? Like, I'll never forget Mikal Bridges going toe-to-toe with Victor Wembanyama on Christmas, right? I'll never forget Victor Wembanyama's first time in Madison Square Garden and all the hoopla on ESPN just for Mitchell Robinson to shut that door, and then for them to not talk about the Knicks Spurs game in the post game. I'll never forget these things. I'll never forget Karl Anthony Towns hitting a step back 28-footer on Jalen Duren. I'll never forget the New York Knicks sending home the Boston Celtics in 6 games. These are things that I'll never forget, right? And the outcome in each of those seasons was not what we wanted it to be. But at the end of the day, the journey still matters. Enjoy yourselves all along the ride, because all we have is day to day, right? Tomorrow's not guaranteed. So if tomorrow's not guaranteed, do your best to live it up today and enjoy yourselves.
Yeah, man. And I'll wrap it here. I know we're running a little bit over. The journey matters. Like, when I look back at last year, I don't think of all the doldrums in February and in April, and like, I think of Mikal Bridges hitting the buzzer beater in Portland. I think of him having that dunk against the Pistons. I think of the Christmas Day game, and I also think about the Black Friday game where they almost lost to Charlotte. The journey matters, but for me, man, I just want to see them experiment. If something's not working, switch it up, change it up. Like, that's why you're here, Mike. But thank you guys for tuning in. Any closing words, Mensa, or anything you want to add before we sign off?
Nah, that's it for me, man. Thank you guys so much. 200 plus on our first go round is nothing to sneeze at, man. Like, I'm really proud of the work that we're getting ready to do, and I'm really happy that you guys are joining us. The real is back, man. It's not the me way, the you way, it's the two way. And I'm so excited that you guys are with us for the entire ride.
And then we have more folks coming along the ride as well. We'll save that for a different time. But thank you guys. And if you want to watch, it'll be on YouTube. It'll also be on podcast format. But with that being said, we out.
Tune in to the Two-Way Talk podcast with Mensa and Bully. Join the boys as they discuss all the tri-state sports: Knicks, Yankees, Mets, Jets, NBA, NCAA, and more. The boys will also dive into local news and everything that matters to you. The Two-Way podcast, presented by Project Arc, is your home for everything from sports, the culture, local news,